Think we're live. Chuck and Smitty here to bring you an NBA best ball draft. It's been a few weeks since we've drafted, but NFL's in full swing, and we got NBA coming up in less than 2 months. And so preseason starts in just over 2 weeks. So we're ramping up into NBA best ball draft and season. Smitty, how we doing?
Doing good. I'm ready for NBA to start. We got about 3 weeks until preseason hits us, and then shortly after that, we're into the regular season. So I'm excited to get into it and trying to get as many drafts done as I can right now.
Yeah, how many have you done so far?
Right now, I'm 25 in, but I'm going to try and get 150.
Okay, nice. You're trying to do 150 on Underdog?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I have to do that too. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but with the advanced structure this year, it's so different. And since it's been a while and this is the first NBA draft on this channel, we're going to go over just the basics of the tournament. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter now, just though, in case it takes a while for the draft to fire. Oh, fired instantly. All right. Well, we'll talk about it while we're going through. So third pick, it's beautiful. For me personally, I'm always taking Jokic at one, and then I'll take Wemby after that. But what are you doing with the first pick?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too, except on DraftKings, I have it reversed, but on Underdog, I like it. Wimby one.
Okay. Okay.
Just because Jokic is the center on DraftKings.
Yeah, centers over there. Like there's because four huge players that are bigs, they changed to forwards over there, and so forwards are plentiful on DK, but on Underdog, you have to draft wings early.
Yep.
It's kind of like with NFL, they're the wide receivers. If you get left behind, it's really hard to hit on a late round pick. At least in NFL, it's possible, but here. In NBA, minutes are everything, and there's no large scoring events in NBA DFS. So we just have to rely on minutes, and we have a good idea of who's going to play for what team. There's way less fantasy relevant players in NBA, but we'll find some edges as we go through. The biggest change to this year's tournament, so it's a $15 entry, 500K prize pool, 37,000 entrants total. It's already 24% full. This should fill 100K up top, of course, and it has a pretty decent finals field. It's only 6,250 people. We'll go through how that works in a second. Uh, I feel like you always just got to take Giannis here. I
Yeah.
mean, Luca probably averages more fantasy points, but like I said, wings are so important, and this just opens up so much for us later in the draft.
Yeah, it's just a position. I think you just have to.
And so this playoff format, it's the sprint. It's much different than the advancing structure that we're used to with, going through a couple rounds of playoffs and then making the finals. Here it's just the once the regular season ends, top 2 of 12 advance, and everyone is in one giant contest for 6 weeks, and it's the scoring is per week. So after 1 week, whoever is in your starting lineup is set, and then the next week it's like we're setting a whole new scoring period. And so there's ways that we can take advantage of the schedule if you're willing to put in that time. And I think it's just hugely plus EV. So I think it's something that we really have to do. How much time have you spent thinking about the playoff format?
Yeah, that's the majority of what I've done. I'm trying to target players that are going to have more games or trying to mix and match those teams to where I have someone to cover someone if they're missing a game. It's a lot of strategy.
And there are ways to help. Like one of these sites has it might even be Basketball Grid. It has a breakdown of how many games every team has per week, and you could kind of go through that and get an idea of what we want to look at for the playoff weeks. But I have a schedule where it shows how many games each team has per week, and I can't show it on stream because it's paywalled from another site. But I think the main things to take away overall is we kind of want to fade the Magic, the Pelicans, and the Timberwolves.
T Wolves.
Yeah, because they only have 19 and 20 games, where most of the teams have 21 or 22 games total over that 6 weeks. And then four teams have 23 games. And those are the teams I think we want to target the most. And that's Pacers, Jazz, Heat. And I'm actually not familiar with this
The
logo.
Clippers.
Oh, that's the new Clippers logo?
Yeah.
That's disgusting. It looks like a ship. Is that a ship?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that, but yeah, that's why I've been pretty heavy on the Clippers on both sides. Just it's scary just because of their injury risk, but if assuming they're healthy, then you're going to get a lot more games or an extra game.
Yeah, and Kawhi, we saw him play basically the whole season last year since they implemented that minimum games rule. And so with Paul George being gone, there's a lot of opportunity on the Clippers.
Yep.
Who are your favorite players to target from them?
Um, Although he's kind of just a role player, I like Norm. Getting Norm Powell late is one of my favorites, and then I've been taking a lot of Kawhi.
Yeah, I mean Kawhi at ADP 30, this dude should average 45, assuming he
Yep.
stays healthy most of the season, and having the extra games in the playoffs. And I feel like this is accurate, just eyeballing this. The number of games for like the last 3 weeks of the playoff format, and so don't pay as much attention to this as we would with like week 15, 16, 17, because we still need weeks 1, 2, 3 of the playoffs. But
Yep.
Zubac, I think, has a really big opportunity to step into a bigger role this year as long as he gets the minutes. I mean, I feel like he's probably one of the better value centers.
Yeah, I like that, and I have been going to Harden too. I just think Harden's going to have to play a bigger role without PG there. I think he probably benefits close to the most, so I still like going there.
And then Kevin Porter Jr. is getting drafted in basically every draft. You mentioned you like Norman Powell. I like Norman Powell over Kevin Porter too. I've only taken 3% of Norman over here though through 40 drafts. Zero Kevin Porter. Are you going to be taking him at all?
I haven't yet, but it's probably someone I'll try and get to a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. It's just like the ceiling case is pretty good because there aren't many guards going this late that have the potential he showed us to put up big fantasy scores, but the floor is zero. So,
Yeah.
um, so getting back like the overall strategy on forwards, are you pretty much just taking? So for me, I definitely want at least one forward in the first 3 rounds, if not two.
Yeah, that's been about where I am. I've been taking two forwards early. Sometimes I'll try and even it out. I'll try and take a big somewhat early, at least get one, but it just varies.
So like here, I mean, you mentioned you were pretty high on Julius. I have 15%, only five Jalen, and I'm actually going to go Julius here.
Yeah,
I just think he has a higher ceiling, right?
yeah. Just the minutes for Julius are just so secure and it's hard to beat.
Yeah, and I don't know his 80. Like he's actually a decent value even in the second round here because I think people are down on him with McHale coming to town and Josh Hart going off last season. But when Julius was healthy, I mean, he was a 40 ball pretty much every night.
Yeah,
See some guards. This is always interesting to me what people are going to do with Jokic or Wemby because I mean, to me, you got to get one of these first two spots. Maybe Giannis sneaks in there, but just having one of these two guys is such an advantage. And so we talked about combos a lot in the NFL streams. How much have you been considering like the chalk picks when you're the 1 or 2 spot? And are you reaching to get some uncommon combos with these guys since it's such a large finals field?
I kind of have, and mainly in the last two rounds is kind of where I've been mixing it up, especially if I have one of them. I just want to try and cover my bases with different players, especially late, that I think could potentially win me the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually have the information here. Um, this is a debate that I have pretty frequently. I mean, Fox, Mitchell, Booker. I think Steph is a little bit after that. I mean, I'll throw Steph in there too, but do you have any preferences between these guys right here?
Who was it?
Fox, Booker, Mitchell, and I guess Steph.
Um, Probably Fox or Booker. It's kind of
Okay.
hard.
Okay. So I'm like yeah, I think Fox is my number one in this range, even with DeMar going to the Kings. I don't think that should hinder De'Aaron too much. And then I think I have Mitchell over Devin Booker, but things could change with Tyus Jones coming to town.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one.
Tyus Jones is one of my highest drafted players. Got 20%. I got a lot of this when he was going undrafted for the first part of this tournament. So I was basically taking him with the last pick every time he jumped up. I stopped taking him, but I'm gonna start adding him again. I feel like he should start. I don't know if the coach is gonna do it. I mentioned it to my friend who's a huge Suns fan, and he's like, "So we're gonna have 40 million or 50 million Beal coming off the bench. I was like, I mean, if it's the right basketball move, why not?
Yeah, yeah, I do like Tyus. I kind of like his brother as well as a late round flyer, just someone that can run an offense, and they're going to need that. So I like
Yeah,
going there.
I thought Trey Jones was phenomenal at the end of last season, and there was a very strong positive correlation with him and Wembenyama.
Yeah, I know they brought in Castle, but I don't know. I still think he's going to have a good role.
Well, they signed Chris Paul too,
Yeah,
and I just don't think Chris Paul is going to play over 30 minutes.
no.
And so, and something happens, Chris Paul takes an injury. I mean, it's Trey Jones's show to run. I actually didn't know Stephen Castle was a point guard until I was talking about it with my buddy over the weekend. Because he's 6'6", so I assumed that his
Mhm.
position's shooting guard, and maybe he starts the season out there. Uh, if they decide to start him, I guess maybe slide Vassell down to the 3.
I don't know why, but it's really hard for me to love targeting that team. I don't know. I just don't feel very confident in it.
Well, last season, my argument against basically everyone on the Spurs, my argument against Wemby, biggest of all, was that I don't think he plays 30 minutes. The highest minutes per game on the Spurs the previous season was like 32. And then I think it was maybe Keldon and Vassell were the only guys over 30. So, but Pop adjusts to what he has, and Wemby played 30 minutes, and he was
Yep.
great in 30 minutes. So maybe if he gets, I don't know, if he can average like 34, 35 minutes, he might break fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in DFS, you might see prices that we've probably never seen.
Right. And I'm still going to jam him in every day. And we will be live on the regular channel. Stay tuned for our NBA DFS content this season. So you like Kawhi? I like Kawhi too. I'm over the field. Lauri Markkanen is my biggest forward target. He is my second highest exposed forward, highest exposed guy in the first few rounds. Just they have such a good playoff schedule, and I think he like where he's going. I think he's a pretty good value.
Yeah, I like Laurie too. I kind of like I like a few players on that team. I like getting to Keontae as well.
Yeah, Keontae, because once we get into the 100 range, you want to find guys who have the potential to take that step. And in the NFL, there's a pretty strong correlation between first player years going into their second year, taking a leap. And so it's a little different for NBA, but just hoping Keontae can take that leap. And either way, if he holds down the starting job, he should return value at this pick.
Yep.
John Collins is another guy that I don't mind targeting late either. Because he's not that late. Miles Bridges, Paul George, Franz Wagner, Kyle Kuzma. It's the run of the forwards. I mean, people know the meta, so they know what to do. It's so funny. We were talking about celebrities being in our drafts. We got Dink Piece over here. We got Eric Bimefor over here. We got some crushers in here. So
Yeah, I feel like that's how a lot of my drafts have been lately. A bunch of sharps.
yeah, like I recognize a name in every draft, and that
Yeah.
definitely was not the case for NBA.
No.
So what are you looking to do here? We could go with Kyrie, get that, or I guess just get our second guard, or get Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I like Kyrie R. Mobley is pretty solid. See,
I want to see. Mavericks have a 5-game playoff week, which is huge if we get 5 big games from Kyrie. Like, I mean, it's ultimate leverage if like Luka's out that week and Kyrie puts up 55 games in a row. That's huge in those playoff
yep.
weeks. Even if a couple of other weeks are short, hopefully we find that late guard to, maybe he can outscore Kyrie.
Yeah, I like that. I've kind of been targeting the Mavs. Mine's been a lot of Gafford. I've been getting to Gafford and some Grant Williams, but it's mainly been Gafford, Kyrie, a lot of the secondary pieces,
I like
and
been taking
PJ.
some and PJ. I don't think I'm taking PJ a single time. I don't know. He had it a little bit, but and I talk about how scarce wings are, but usually I'm strong enough at wing that I kind of like. I mean, I'd rather take TJD, and there's a good chance PJ Washington averages more fantasy points than TJD, but I think Trace Jackson Davis has a higher ceiling, so I usually go that way. And I mean, Mobley fell to us at 51. I think I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time we get to these, I mean, Brandon Ingram feels like a pretty good value here if he can stay healthy, even though they added DeJounte.
Yeah, I've been getting to a lot of Ingram too. I don't know why he just keeps falling to me, so I'm just taking him.
And it's like I'm trying to avoid the Pelicans since they have less games, but I mean, Brandon Ingram in 20 games still averages more fantasy points than a lot of these guys in 21 or 22 games, right?
Yep.
So a Pelicans player can still be in the winning lineup this year. And it's a lot different on Underdog than it is over on DK because DK it's only regular playoff format, and so the Pelicans are just to me I think they're just dead over there. I'm not going to draft
Yeah.
any of them unless I get really good value on them. Are there any teams? I guess the question I'll ask is if you could pick a team that's going to overperform this year, exceed expectations, who would you pick?
Um, let's see. I kind of think the Pelicans.
The Pelicans?
Yeah, or the let's see. I would say the Pelicans or the Raptors.
I like the Raptors. Yeah, I think the Raptors could take a step. I love Scotty Barnes. It's kind of crazy that he's going at 10th overall, but I don't think it's incorrect.
Could also see the Jazz too.
Yeah, especially. I mean, I feel like that's up to Keontae, right? If
Yep.
Keontae really takes that leap, that could be enough to get him. I mean, Jazz were like the number one team for half of the season a couple seasons ago with Laurie as the centerpiece. So
I know THT went to the Bulls, right? I think.
oh, I don't even think I knew that.
Yeah, I think he's with the Bulls. I don't know if they got anyone or if he was a free agent. I honestly don't know, but
Man, THT has been a last round staple in NBA fantasy for a minute, but I will not be doing that this year.
no, I'm not really targeting the Bulls. They're another team I don't feel very confident in them. I think they're going to be throwing games later on, so
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't trust them.
that's another thing to consider. We've seen this, like Portland is the example that I think of that does it the most the last couple of years, where at the end of the season, their players are hurt and they're just throwing anybody out there. And Delano Banton's putting up 50 points every day for a week. And I think we can still consider Portland there. I don't think they got better at all. And are there any other teams that you really like the late round bench guys, Delano Banton type pieces?
I do like some of the Bulls late, but I would say going to Banton once again is pretty solid for me. And there's a few others I've been targeting. Trying to think of some.
Brogdon
Yeah,
over in Washington now.
yeah. I think Washington's another team that probably isn't going to have anything to play for. So,
Yeah, like I love Kuzma and I really like where Jordan Poole's going in these drafts. 83. I mean, this dude could average 40. I know that he burned pretty much all of us last season. What he went off in the preseason, his ADP jumped into the early 40s and then he did nothing all year, but I still think that there's some potential there.
yeah, yeah. I know with my last pick. Well, we'll let you make this pick real quick.
What would you do here? What are you leaning towards? I don't know if I have a strong lean.
Um, I would probably go with Jabari. I think.
Yeah, I think that's because I don't, like I said, I don't love anyone here.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, where were we taking Jabari Smith last year? Like late fourth, early fifth, and
Yeah.
I think he even jumped in preseason after he dropped 20 plus, and then he just completely. It seemed like he was iced out of the offense, though. I don't think he played poorly.
Yep. Yeah, it was kind of a weird year. I think he either has a bounce back or something's going to happen there.
And they added Reed Shepard, which shouldn't affect Jabari, but it's just another mouth to feed. They have a lot of good players, and I don't know if they have any great players over in Houston.
Yeah, I could kind of see them being competitive at least.
Yeah, I think they'll be good. I don't think they'll just turn over, but I I don't see how they're close to competing unless they make some big moves.
No.
It's like so these like mid-round value wings. I love Denny. I would have taken Denny in a heartbeat if he was there, but Eric Bimefor is too sharp to let that happen. Just take Duran, DeAndre. You
Yeah.
like Aiden?
No, not really. But but I mean, he has a ceiling. So
I'm gonna take Duran. I probably want to take a little more Duran on Underdog since I mentioned I'm probably not gonna draft him at all over on DK due to the playoff format.
yeah.
But the Pistons have 21 games, so it's normal over here. I'm just trying to put a tweet out so people can come talk some NBA. Anyone watching this live, you feel free to throw out anything NBA related. Doesn't have to be related to even fantasy. We're here to talk about it. It's been a long off season.
Yeah. I know. I'm still trying to get back into the swing of things and been catching up on some transactions I wasn't even like. I didn't even know Getty went to the Bulls until a month or two ago. I was just kind of behind.
How do you feel about it? What was your first reaction?
I thought that was it didn't really shock me because he didn't really fit in with OKC. Like they didn't need him for anything. He did nothing there for them. I think that was smart of them, but I still don't think the Bulls are going to be very good. I think they're going to be pretty bad again.
I can't see them being good at all. I mean, they lost Demar. Zach Levine goes mega late in these drafts. He's a guy I actually don't mind taking shots on at
Yeah, I don't hate that.
15%. I mean, at 81, if he stays healthy, this is a 40 ball plus with DeMar gone, especially. And they're a little more crowded at the wing. So like Kobe White emerged last season. I have 18% Kobe White. Absolutely love him. And I think Giddy kind of bounces back too. I think he's a pretty good pick. This is around where we were taking him when he was on a much better team when his share of the fantasy work was much less. And then are you looking at anybody else down here?
I do like Buzelis a little bit.
Okay, nice. I'm glad you said that because I'm kind of interested in him too. I think he has a opportunity to be one of these breakout wings. I mean, we're not expecting him to be Luka Doncic, but if he can hold down a starting job, then he probably returns value here.
Yep, and I think to what I said, kind of like if they're throwing games at the end, he's one of them that's going to be playing. So either way, I think his ceiling's pretty good.
And it's so funny how much people hate Patrick Williams. 40 ADP difference. I'm not taking him. Are you?
No, I'm not.
It's just what are we hoping happens?
Yeah, I mean, even when he starts, he might get 20 points, 20 fantasy points.
And then I have 23% Io DeSunmu. I feel like I drafted a bunch of that before Josh Giddey got traded there because I don't think I would have done this. It's been a while since I've drafted, so it doesn't. But I mean, Io kind of flashed a ceiling last season too. If
Yeah,
Zach
I don't
Levine
mind.
can't go, should be good. D'Angelo, Austin Reeves. Are you taking Austin Reeves?
Yeah, I actually really like both of the Lakers guards and Rui. They're probably three of my higher exposed players on both sides.
So I am a Lakers fan for life, and I don't think I'm drafting. Yeah, I have 10% Davis, 13% LeBron, 8% D'Angelo, and then like a share of Rui and Connect.
Yeah, to me, it's just with Russell and Reeves and Rui, it's just AD. He ran good last year, but who knows if he does this year? And then LeBron, I mean, he's 40 years old. He's not going to play every game, so I think just those big weeks you can have from D'Lo is pretty solid.
Yeah, I'd like to get more D'Lo, and yeah, all right. You talk me into Austin Reeves. I'll start adding him in some of my drafts. I haven't taken him a single time in any site yet.
I do prefer D'Lo over Reeves, but
Yeah,
I like both.
I agree. Yeah, just like maybe D'Lo's ceiling is just so much higher.
Yep, he can actually
And
take over an offense.
oh yeah, and we saw him do it. Like Austin Reeves showed it a bit. I think he had a triple double last year.
Yeah.
Still good, but D'Lo should do it more often. So I have 33% Anthony Simons, 25% Pods. We're getting Zach Levine. What 13 picks past ADP? We just talked about the ceiling case, so we'll go ahead and do that. What do you think about my Simons and Pods exposures?
I like it. Simons just has a massive ceiling, especially on a mediocre team or probably below average team. I just think he could go out there and just chuck it.
I see him as a guy that averages 40 when he's healthy.
Yep.
And so I think he's a tremendous value here. I would have still taken him if he made it back to me. And then with Pods, I thought he was great last year. Steve Kerr loves him. He's going to get heavy minutes. And with Clay Thompson leaving, I mean, they said they want him to take like what 8 to 10 threes a game. I don't think that's going to happen. But Pods fills up
Yeah.
the stat sheet, and if he can add that consistent three ball, then he could really exceed this ADP here.
Yeah, I do like him there.
Would you look to mix it up though with maybe Scoot Henderson, Colin Sexton,
I do like
TJD?
Scoot a little bit. And I also I like Sexton some too.
Yeah, I should probably get a little more Sexton considering how much Jordan Clarkson I have.
Yeah, I do too.
I really like TJD. He's another guy similar to like the same exact argument I just made for Pods. I'll take Scoot Henderson this time though.
The main reason I've been going Sexton too is just he's got 23 games.
Okay, that's a good. That's a really good reason to do that. Portland has 22, so I only gave up one
Yeah.
game. How much risk do you think there is with Sexton? Because we saw when he starts, he's a 40 ball, but when he comes off the bench, he's maybe like low 30s.
Yeah, I do think there's some risk there. It's just it depends on who's healthy, and I don't know. They change their rotation every couple weeks, so it's hard to judge really.
Yeah, kind of just whatever the coach is feeling that day. I think, the thing to take away is just get exposure to this team, period.
Yeah, and with no THT there, that is someone that was eating minutes, so that'll help.
And what we said about him earlier, we don't have to be frustrated about him anymore, guys. We'll save the frustrations for DFS when he's min priced and everyone's out.
Yep.
So elite bigs, like what is the latest big that you would take as your first big, or that you'd be comfortable with? I guess.
Let's see. I'd feel comfortable with probably about Jared Allen range.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I would say probably about where Jared Allen went. That's probably the lowest. Like I don't trust Rudy Gobert to be my top big.
I
Miles
think he's a
Turner's
good
good,
value.
but
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, I like Gobert. It's just I don't know.
I love Miles Turner, especially given the Pacers have 23 games over these 6 weeks.
Yep.
The Pacers are, I think, the top team to target over on DraftKings too. I mean, Halliburton, if he stays healthy, he was averaging over 50.
What do you think about Joe Val for Washington now?
I mean, I'm willing to take some risks at pick 100 on him. He could be really good.
Yeah.
But like you said, what if they tank at the end of the year? He doesn't play. They do have young players that they're incentivized to develop, and so
Yeah, they just got a SAR. So, but I think he should be fine. If anything, they might even trade him to a contender. But I don't know.
I think he's a good pick though, and like what Eric Bimford did here, especially, he hasn't taken a big through 7 rounds, so he went back to back with Nurkic and Jonas, and I don't know how often it pays off, but if it does, it should be pretty good. It's just one of these guys, or can they trade off averaging 40 for a week during the playoffs?
Yeah, see, that's kind of what I've been trying to do too. Is build some variations into my builds, like go no bigs early, and then next draft I'll take a few bigs early. It just kind of depends what falls to me, but I kind of want to have different combinations. I think is pretty important.
Yeah, especially in like I mean the combinations for playoffs. A lot of people tend to write it off, but in this format, it's a 6,000 person final. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
just play the pure chalk in a 6,000 person DFS field. So
No. Are you looking forward to DFS this year?
I am, yeah.
Oh,
I'm so locked into NFL right now.
yeah.
Improve my process, feel really good about where it's at, and so I'm excited to dive back into NBA and just keep crushing like we do. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good too. I've been really into NFL as well, and been pretty much grinding every slate. But I'm looking forward to NBA. I've kind of looked at some of my notes that I had of kind of where my process was at the end of last season, because last season I ended on a really good note. I was I was having a lot of success, so I didn't want to forget all those stuff. I know half the time I'll forget what I did the previous season to get there. So that's one thing I wanted to do.
It's a smart thing to do. And if you guys ever hop over into the NBA channel in the Discord, last season anyway, you would have saw Smitty posting screenshots constantly. So
Well, I'll be doing it this year.
special announcement. And we do preseason content. We're one of the only. I mean, we definitely have the most thorough preseason content anyway, and a lot of providers don't even have that. And so make sure you tune in for that because I look at NFL and NBA preseason as one of the best times to make money. We had a really good summer league, and I had a really good preseason last year. So looking forward to doing that again. Smitty and I write the preseason plug together.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really profitable time. I know even in summer league we had a lot of success, and preseason the prize pools are even bigger. So I think it will be solid.
It's like my favorite. I feel like it's raining tickets every
Yeah.
preseason because it just seems so easy.
Yep. I mean, literally, you could just pay the or pay play the best plays. That's it.
Yeah, just like we will write the plug, and if you trust our opinion, which I think you should, it's a good opinion. We're not always going to be right, but when we are right, the things we're right about are much more powerful
Yep.
than the things we're wrong about hurt us. I don't like anyone here. It's Fun Castle. Just take a shot.
Yeah, I've been doing that some. I'm not really big on clay. Uh, yeah, that's probably where I'd go. What do you think about Russell Westbrook in Denver?
I think this is too high. If
Yeah.
something happens to Jamal, maybe he pays us off. I know Jokic likes him, and so hopefully, but we I don't know. We know his ceiling, but we also know the things that come with drafting Russell Westbrook. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought about it too. I was pretty surprised when I seen him going that early, but then again, Jamal has injury history and he's been pretty terrible lately. But they did just sign him to a 4 year deal, so they're definitely committed to him.
well, while we're on the Nuggets, we know we like Jokic. I think Jamal's great at this ADP, and I don't mind taking Michael Porter Jr. either. We know the ceiling he has if he can just string it together for the entire season, and then Aaron Gordon's fine too. So I like taking all of these guys.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in on all of them, and I like getting to some Pickett and them late too.
I haven't done that yet, but that's like these guys. Like if you're right on these guys, it's so good for the playoffs because they're going to be on so few teams, and if somehow they're just your flex filling in and they end up going off, it's pretty good.
Yep, it's kind of hard just because it's so much different than NFL that these guys aren't gonna. It's just a lot different for someone to go out there. They're pretty much relying on an injury or someone to tank.
Yeah, and I mean for me, like NBA is my favorite sport, favorite league. Basketball is my favorite sport, but to me, that fantasy game for football is just so much more interesting. The randomness in it adds a lot. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, there's no major scoring events in the NBA. In NFL, there's a long touchdown, hockey, a goal, baseball, bases loaded grand slam. Where in NBA, the best scoring event you can probably hope for in a single play is like, let's say Wemby gets a block, gets his own rebound, and then pulls up a three. It's like what
Yep.
7.5 points on 7 points on or 7 or 8 points, whatever it is on the different sites. But Wemby's going to average 60 this year, so it's just such a small percentage of what he scores, and so that's why minutes are king, and why it's a lot harder to hit on a late round pick. Like you should not have contributions from most of the guys you pick late, not major contributions anyway, or that probably means your early round picks got hurt and you're just drawing dead.
Yep. Do you think about anything like when you take Giannis early? Are you less likely to take Portis like later on, or do you think about those things?
Yeah. Well, the big one is Andre Drummond is my most exposed big, and I want him on every single Joel Embiid team. And you could look at it like why not just draft Drummond on every other team? That way you get the benefit if Embiid's down. Well, I trust that whatever team I drafted with Joel Embiid is good. And if I lose my first round pick for a week or a month, I have Andre Drummond to score 40 there. And so, yeah, I think drafting the handcuff in NBA is fine, especially with what I just said, with how hard it is to even get contributions from these guys down here. But we know when Portis plays, or when Portis goes off, it's probably because Giannis is out. And if we're missing Giannis's fantasy points, at least we're not losing as much, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
I don't think I've been drafting much Portis lately, though, but I do like him as a play.
He goes fairly early, but I mean, I get it. The ceiling's there.
Yeah, it's just the baseline is like the floor is, whatever he averages off the bench,
Yeah.
22, 23. Walker Kessler,
Yeah.
another interesting one late. I'm convinced the coaching staff doesn't like him, but
Yeah.
this is a guy who could end up really paying off his ADP.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. I just think they don't like him. Maybe he'll get traded, or I don't know.
And they got the rookie Filipowski in there too.
Yep.
I don't
He
think
looked
he's
good.
great. You thought he looked good?
Well, for summer league at least.
Yeah, I mean,
Not NBA good.
I know I pretty much jammed him in every slate that he
Yeah.
was playing, so I like him. I don't know if he'll be able to contribute on
Schroeder.
in his rookie year. You like Schroeder?
I do like Schroeder, but
Yeah, I have 18% Schroeder, 20% Tyus.
yeah, I like Tyus too though. That's
Like
tough.
like Schroeder, the Nets lost Mikal Bridges. There are fantasy points up for grabs, and not that Mikal did good last year at all, but
Yeah.
this is crazy. 63 is the first Brooklyn player going. Cam Thomas, a guy that we know can average 50 for a week.
Yeah, I do need to get more Cam Thomas, but how was their playoff schedule? I was trying to look.
It's good, 22 games.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm surprised I have this little because I'm not out on him. I have 28% Cam Johnson, 18% Schroeder.
I have a lot of Cam Johnson as well. I'm Cam Johnson and Schroeder have been two of my go-tos. Just someone's got to run that offense, and they both have really high ceilings.
I feel better about Schroeder than I do about Cam Johnson, but
Yep.
like, what if Cam Johnson steps into a larger role? And then you're taking shots on anyone late. I apparently have 10% Clowney, 18% Bojan, and 15% Jalen Wilson, dude. 3% Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons. Yeah, it's been Clowney and Bojan for me. Those are two targets. With Bojan's kind of more the priority because he's someone that can literally put up 40 fantasy points if he gets some minutes.
Yeah, I feel like Bojan's a guy I'm willing to take at the last round of every draft. I mean, we kind of saw it with before he went to the Knicks. He was scoring 30 most games, and a guy averaging 30 in the last round is huge.
Yep.
What are some of your other late round picks here? Like, Jordan Clarkson is my favorite by far.
Yeah, I do like Clarkson. I'm not really in on Koulibaly. Let's see. I do like Rui a lot.
Dude, maybe it's because I'm too close, but I can't. I just can't get there. I don't know.
Yeah. What about Buddy Hield?
I only have 5%, but he's another guy who could end up being a really good value. Yeah, it's just, I mean, the assumption is Pods is going to start at 2 and Buddy's going to come off the bench, right?
Yep.
But what if something happens to Steph or Pods? I mean, they could just slide Pods to the 1, start Buddy at the 2, and then all of a sudden you got a hopefully 30-point plus guy for a couple weeks. I know that he kind of sucked on the Sixers, but I don't know if there's a better offense he could be in.
Yeah. Yeah, they might just want him to take Clay's role. I haven't got a ton of him either, but I do like Okongwu if I need a big late, just someone that could – they trust Okongwu. That's pretty big when you get late in the drafts. But like you mentioned, Drummond, those pretty much all the same. Noah Clowney.
My buddy that I talked to about this asked me a question. Let's say we're kind of weaker at big. We're planning on taking 4 bigs. We didn't get a big into like Nurkic or something. Would you, let's say you took Clint Capella after that too, would you take a Kongwu on Clint Capella teams? There's a couple situations like that in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, towards the end of last season, they did share the court some together, so I really don't hate it at all.
Yeah, and again, like back to that handcuff thing we were just talking about, I think it's fine. A lot of the season, you're going to get the floor because they're going to be sharing the minutes. But for the weeks when only one of them is playing, those are like you're locking in those points for that week. And if you're weak at big, I think that's a way to kind of come back from that.
Yep.
Let's see.
One player, another one I've kind of got on lately, taking in the last round, just kind of on the narrative. If I don't have any Washington players, I've been taking some Cub Carrington late.
I don't think I have
He's
8%. Yeah, we're doing it. I have 10%
or
Sadiq
above
Bay too.
Carrington. Yeah, I don't hate Bay either.
23% Brogdon. Yeah, I have a lot of interest in Washington being terrible at the end of the season. I'm so exposed to this team. George. Like rookies are. This was one of the weaker draft classes in recent memory, or we think it's going to be. I cannot imagine multiple guys emerging from this class. But I mean, do you feel like these guys might be values, or like because we saw in summer league, Sar and the other guy were just not good. But I mean, what do you think about them? Is everyone just overlooking them too much? Should we just be taking shots?
I don't hate taking some shots, but I'm not really on SAR. Um, I don't know. None of them really impress me either, so it's hard to get excited about any of them.
Yeah, like Risa Shea and Sar were two guys that was like free money if you just took their unders every night.
Yep.
And then Reed Shepard, I would be pretty interested in Reed Shepard if he was on a team where he was going to have the opportunity to play.
Yeah, that's the hard part with him. He would probably be the one I have the most interest in. It's just his team's they just got too many mouths to feed.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but he does fill up the stat sheet, so he is a guy. I mean, it's all it takes is one injury, and maybe he steps into a much larger role.
Yep.
I can't even think of another rookie besides like the guys we just mentioned.
There's Castle and
Oh, I like Castle. Yeah, I'll take shots
Zach
on
Eddy.
Castle. I don't know what to think because can this bury me if I fade him?
No. Let me see how much I've got to. I don't think I've really got to any.
Like, why wouldn't I just take Mark Williams? Hartenstein. Imagine something happens to Chet. Could be a mega value past pick
Yep.
100. I still think he contributes a fine amount of points too. Even if Chet's playing, they could go like just start both.
Yeah, I think Hartenstein and Nas are both pretty good picks right there.
Nas kind of similar to Bobby Portis, right?
Yep.
But Nas has this extra factor about like Rudy Gobert is. I hope he's okay, but what if? I mean, they can't really bench him; they're paying him too much money. But just Nas might have some more opportunity this year because usually he really only plays a lot when one of them's out. But that is two paths to getting on the court. I don't want to take Bojan. I already have two Nets guys. I am going to take Drummond.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like that.
it's like he averages a few points even when Embiid is healthy. If Mobley and Duran are out for a couple weeks, Drummond can give me 20-point a game weeks. Pretty comfortable stopping at three bigs here, though.
Do you normally cap yourself at three bigs, or does it just depend?
Most of the time, three. Like even if I didn't get a second big as good as Duran, like if I got Zubac, I'd still be comfortable with three. It's a little weirder with Drummond because he doesn't start.
Yeah.
So here I'm definitely gonna stop at three, and then with so we get 18 roster spots, and so my typical builds are just 7-6-3 or 6-7-3. Do you find yourself doing one more than the other, or is it just comes down to every specific draft?
Yeah, it's just a specific draft. I normally aim for a seven to get seven guards, but it just depends.
Okay.
Because really, that last pick, I'm kind of taking a flyer most of the time.
Yeah, and for me, like a lot of time, hopefully I can be like, well, I'm indifferent between guard and wing. I'll just take best player available.
Yep, that's what I do.
And here, I said I didn't want to take three nets, but Bojan was still there, and I kind of wanted. I don't love another wing, and so now because I have Giannis and Julius, I'm just going to stop at six wings. So I will take a seventh guard. I'm not going to take a seventh wing on this team.
Yeah, that's another way. I just kind of depends who you have already, how your roster's lining up. Trey Jones. What about Gary Trent? Do you like Gary Trent?
I don't think so. I
Yeah,
noticed his name the other day, and I took a second to consider the ceiling case, and I couldn't come up with it.
yeah, yeah. Kind of late. You're just looking for guys that, if they get into a starting role for some reason, what's their upside? That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, like Norm Powell, even if he's still off the bench, his usage should go up with PG not there anymore. Mike Conley's a starting point guard. I like Dyson Daniels. Even I have
Yeah,
0% here. I've taken him over on DK though.
I do like Dyson.
Dejounte's gone. What if something happens to Trey? I love Trey Young this year too. I mentioned I like Hallie, I like those early guards a lot more than I did last year. Uh,
McConnell. I like TJ.
yeah, TJ, dude, I was so heavy on TJ last year. I don't know if I'm gonna get there this year. I don't know if it's because there's more options late that I like, or but he has the best playoff schedule. Imagine he starts. All right, actually, you just talked me into TJ.
Yeah.
They have 23 games. What if he starts for those like all those 6 weeks? Hallie's out. Like
Yep.
TJ breaks fantasy.
There's a few down there that just they have upside, like Melton. If Melton somehow was starting that late, he could put up 40.
I took him once. Yeah, yeah. I'm in on Melton. Can't imagine I
George
have
Hill.
anyone down here. George Hill is still in the.
I didn't even know he's in the league. I don't know where he's at, but I've seen his name.
So you're telling there's no way. Like I see things like this. You're telling me that more people are drafting George Hill than Beasley, Lonzo, Dylan Brooks, Grady Dick, Werder. Like take Werder.
Yeah,
Werder starts. Oh, he should still start, right?
yeah. Oladipo.
I thought he retired. Our summer league hero, Javon Freeman Liberty, Rajon Rondo, Goran Dragic. They really just cover their bases.
Yeah, they do.
Alan Crabb, fun. There's another guy, 10% Vince Williams Jr. I'm not going to do this ever again, but I'm not like upset I have it. By the time I'm done drafting, I'll only have a few percent. But he did show a ceiling. I just don't know. I mean, they could all just get hurt again for the second year in a row.
Yeah, I've been taking some of him too. Kind of
Okay.
in on some of the Memphis guys.
Okay, nice. So I'm not too far off base. Davion's in Toronto. Nope.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't know that.
There's a couple rookies here. I just noticed Rob Dillingham. He was good. It's just tough to imagine how he carves out a role unless something happens to Edwards. And even then, they still have Cat, so it's not like they're just gonna, let him take over. And
Yeah.
then, who was the other rookie on the Pistons?
Uh,
What is his name?
the Ron
Ron Holland. Yeah,
Holland. Yeah.
yeah. You have
I've
any
been
thoughts
taking
about him?
him.
Okay, nice. I'm over the field on him.
Yeah, I am too.
What about Jaden Ivey
Yeah, I don't mind going Ivy either.
and the
Kind of
Thompson?
in on the whole team, really. I think they all look pretty solid, except Tobias, but I do have a little bit of Tobias.
I like Tobias. I only have 5% here, but he's a guy who, I mean, he averaged 30 when he sucked in Philadelphia, and the Pistons are way worse of a team, but hopefully his usage goes up.
Yeah,
I drafted most of these before I think I realized the playoff schedule, but like I said, on Underdog, it's not as big of a deal. Love Cade Cunningham, though. If he stays healthy, he's going to smash this ADP.
yep.
So we'll round this out. Is there anything else here that caught your eye you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, Brandon Clark's back, but I'm
Is he?
still not really getting to him. But I think that's good news for them.
Yeah, that's great for them. And actually, that might be worth some flyers, but I think we
Yeah,
wait until closer to season, right?
I think so too. I think I need to get to some of him, and there's a few down there I need to target more, like even Zach Collins,
Yeah, he's going
Pritchard.
undrafted, right?
Yeah, Bruce Brown. That's kind of interesting too.
Yeah, there are a lot of good late round options. And you mentioned you like Norm Powell. Norm Powell, I think, is like the darling of one of the other sites in their rankings, like late round guy who's just priced too cheap. And so I see his ADP rising. And so I think you get your Norm Powell shares now, and then we can
Yep.
try and mix it up later. I did want to take a look at what those other guys drafted, their teams. So let's look at Eric Beimfor first. This is a spike week guy. He's behind the overlay you see on the screen here. Pretty strong at guard. I like all these guys pretty much. I mean, so he took Luca, obviously number one guard, Josh Giddey, a pretty good guard, and then I feel like he kind of punted the rest of the
Yeah,
position,
he
right?
did.
And he only took
Those are
six.
three major punts at the bottom.
Yeah, like Caruso is going to score fantasy points, but he's never going to hit the roster. And then I do like Dyson and Bub, and I like Shaden too, but I feel like I would have taken another
Yeah.
guard, but he knows what he's doing. Okay, he went super strong at forward. So I've done this sometimes where I'll, take five wings by this pick and I'll just stop at wing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, the chances of like Oubre outscoring one of those guys is it's not very likely.
Yeah, and like you could just take another shot on like a TJ McConnell type guard,
Yep.
and now you just have a little extra insurance because I mean, if Luca gets hurt, the team's dead anyway. But if Giddy gets hurt, you don't want the team to be dead. Then you went four big, so the Nurkic, Valanciunas, Mark Williams. I think all these guys have really big upside. So taking four bigs, I love it if it looks like this. Mitchell Robinson, 40 picks early.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that is interesting.
I mean, no Hartenstein, and we have seen Mitchell Robinson drop a 50 piece before, so there's something there. I feel like they're going to go small a bunch, and Julius is going to get a lot of the center
Yeah,
minutes, right?
that's kind of what I think too.
And then Dink, one of the sharpest NBA guys around, went 7-7-2. Okay, he's got Demantis and Ivica Zubac, two guys not known for missing time, so I mean, that seems pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't think I've done it too much, but
I haven't done that, but maybe I
yeah,
should try one.
this could be like an underdog only thing because on DK there's two flex spots and we know centers score the most fantasy points basically. So I think we always want to take at least three centers over there. But with only one flex here, if you have a first round big and you get a second big as good as Zubac, it's probably fine.
Yeah,
And then Demar, Bi, Keldon Johnson, Max Struess. I mean, it's going to be tough at forward, but these top two guys got this is what we were talking about getting left behind at wing. I feel like this is a really weak wing group.
yep.
It's hard to see the ceiling, but the guards are freaking studs.
Yeah, he does have good guards.
And so, like I said, this is one of the sharpest guys around, and he kind of drafted the opposite of the strategy that I try and draft with and that I preach. But this is another way to get a macro leverage on the finals field.
I bet that's probably what he's doing too. Like his drafts probably don't all look like this. He's trying different things out.
Yeah, I like it though. I
Yeah,
don't know if I'm going to do it too much, but maybe I'll. Like if he had a little bit stronger of a forward than Demar.
yeah. I'm not really in on Demar, but
Yeah, like if I would have taken Laurie over Demar, and I have been, but I mean, we're all going to mix it up anyway. So
yep.
appreciate anyone who made it to the end here. We're going to get a few more of these NBA drafts done before the season starts. Preseason, like I said, is what, 2.5 weeks away. And we're going to have a little bit of our underdog content over on the main Occupy Fantasy channel when we're doing things like weekly Battle Royale drafts. So make sure you look out for those too. We'd appreciate anything you have to say in the comments. Give us a like, hit the subscribe button, and just in case you're not signed up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Occupy2, give you $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit. So, Smitty, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it, man.